What's good, y'all, man? It's y'all boy. Today we got Nick Fuentes debating, or today we're going to be critiquing a video of Nick Fuentes debating 6 black queens about race mixing, aka interracial dating and families, relationships. Y'all get it. Y'all get the gist. We're going to hop right into it. Y'all know we don't waste no time on this channel.
I respect everybody's opinions on this, but what does the panel think about race mixing? Y'all have black boyfriends, except for the Jewish boyfriend. Why don't we start with you? What do you think about race mixing? Do you think about this? That's a fair question.
So, I actually don't necessarily call it race mixing. I call it interracial dating.
Okay.
After that, I don't know the
She pulling like the words are synonymous. We understand the conversation we're having. Just carry on.
exact time frame, but I believe in the 1950s, that's when interracial marriage was legalized. Please, someone correct me if I'm wrong. I can't put a correct date to it. But I don't think it's inherently bad. I don't think it's inherently something we should strive for. If it happens, it happens. I know there are certain people who their dating preferences are anti one specific race. I do not agree with that. But if someone comes from like a very Asian family and they're like, listen, for cultural reasons, for like getting along reasons, for integration reasons, it's going to be in my best interest to date another Asian person. I really do get that. But if someone is like, you know, an Asian person who says, I'll date anyone besides Hispanics, that's, you know, it's a little sticky.
I see. Why don't we just go around the panel? Can I say my position first?
Yes,
Is that all right?
Yes,
okay. I know. Yeah, you guys are probably curious. So here's my position. Okay, it's a little. Okay, you're gonna be
Not that the panel gives their positions. I guess I'll give my position on the topic at hand.
surprised about this, I think.
Me?
Yeah, so I've actually said on my show a lot, it's a little controversial in my community, but I'm actually attracted to women of all groups, of all races.
Okay.
See, I'm 21st century. Well, here's the controversy. But I would never date someone from outside my race.
I agree.
Okay.
But here's why. So I'm Catholic. You know, my body count 0. I want to have sex with my wife, just my wife. And I only want to have sex to have kids.
One thing I give Nick is he is true to his word. I'll give him that much.
And I want kids that are from the same.
A lot of people hate on Nick, but yeah, I'm not necessarily for or against Nick. He's an interesting person.
Same group as me. I want white kids. So naturally, it follows if I want to have a wife and I want to have white kids, then I shouldn't date someone outside my race because I'm not going to marry them.
Correct.
So that's my position.
Yeah.
But we'll go around. What do you guys think about that? What are your thoughts on it in general? What about you? So I'm sorry. Someone had a
I was gonna say, if that's the way you think, Baby Blue, then keep that in your vicinity, because you know.
But he has a right to not.
I agree. I agree. Because dating outside my race makes me feel weird. I've done it just to make sure that, you know.
What was his race?
He a Nicaraguan. He still had color. You feel me? He was Hispanic. But at the same time, he still wasn't a black man. You get what I'm saying? So I agree with you. Okay. You get what I'm saying? Like, love y'all, but I ain't gonna date you, baby. You get what I'm saying? And I get that. Because I want black babies. So if I want black babies and I want the black race to continue, I'm going to, you know, lay down.
It's like he's trying to push his racial agenda. We're doing the same.
Yeah.
Because it was cute how his message had a racial undertone and yours didn't.
I don't think there was necessarily a racial undertone in either statement. They both said the same thing. It's just Nick's white and he said it, and she's black and she said it. But let's carry on.
The only reason why mine didn't have a racial undertone is because I'm black and he's white, and people like
not necessarily because you called it interracial dating. Right. He called it race mixing.
Those words are synonymous. I mean, we can sit here and argue about semantics all day, can't we?
Oh no, I was talking about his example. Like, he is a white guy.
My Wi-Fi bugging. I'm about to change Wi-Fi. Give me a second, y'all.
Women to have like white cultural standards.
Where give me a second, y'all. This Wi-Fi ain't doing it. 3. All right, and we back. Y'all let me know. Is the Wi-Fi still bugging?
Was an Asian person dating an Asian person to have Asian cultural standards. It's the same exact thing. besides white and Asian, obviously. But coming from a Black woman, I feel like, especially in the society where very democratic, very libertarian people are like supposed to be quote unquote the correct people, they would like accept me saying it before him just because it's me.
But again, it's about the undertone and how you guys said it. Like I said, you have the exact same message, but you called it race mixing.
There were no differences in the undertone. I mean, race mixing, and interracial dating are synonymous terms. They both, not even synonymous, they both mean the exact same thing.
Interracial race mixing.
One at a time, ladies. One at a time, so they can actually hear you. Somebody had something over here.
I just feel like it was the same message, but different verbiage.
Yeah, and that's what makes it different. Like I'm okay. Like before we got on air, we were talking because somebody on my Instagram live asked me to ask him would he date a Black girl, and he said it with a smile. No, right. And I said, okay, I don't.
I mean, that's his preference, though. Like we all have our preferences. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily date a white girl. So does that make me? You know what I'm saying? Like we all got preferences, man. Like we're grown.
I don't care because I wouldn't date a white man.
Exactly.
That's fine.
That's right.
And then you call me racist.
Well, I said that as a joke, though. I said that laughingly, in a friendly way. Well, but here's the thing. We are saying a different thing because you're saying culture, but I'm saying race.
Exactly.
And I think that, but here's the thing. I feel like if a white person talks about their race and the way that Black people talk about theirs, they get called racist. But you said...
That is very, 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 very true. I mean, there's reasons and guidelines behind those type of things. I mean, people always correlate everything to what's happened in history, and I guess that's why they come up with the assumption that it's based in racism.
Black babies because you want the Black race to continue. That's why I want to have white kids, because I want the white race to continue.
Well, it's racist because of historical and because of systemic racism that runs in white culture.
So, but what's racist about me wanting to have white kids?
Nothing is racist about you, particularly because you're 24 years old. However,
he said that as if his age had anything to do like with the statement that he's making.
From a white, not white, an angled background.
An angled background. Like, what does that even mean?
And you know, our country was built on the backs of slaves and or taking people.
What does that have to do with the conversation, though?
Land and or acting like it's ours.
Like, they want to make it racist so bad, but I'm pretty sure both the Blacks and the whites on this panel are saying the same thing, with Nick being only white, but I'm pretty sure they're saying the same thing.
It's always going to be there. So yeah, and the fact that white proud guys go, we're the superior race, so you can't act like that doesn't happen either. So just because I
mean, I think every race thinks of themselves as the superior race. I mean, there's nothing wrong with self-love. I don't think, like, am I supposed to think that another race is superior to mine? No, of course I'm going to side with my own race. That's how everybody thinks. So I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. Not saying that what's happened in American history is particularly correct, but I mean, they did what was best for them and at the detriment of us and every other race. So bad for us, good for them. But at the same time, I feel every race should do what's best for them at the detriment of whoever, right? I mean, it's just how it is.
You're sitting here going, oh, well, I'm different. I like y'all. I'm just not gonna date y'all.
Both people didn't mention anything about.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with what he's saying though. Like, you can like multiple different races, and it's just a difference in whether you want to build a family with another race, because there's going to be differences in cultural values and ideologies. And yeah, it's probably going to be easier to find the same cultural values in the same race, because come on now. But even though there is situations where you might have, let's say, a white Christian, an Italian Christian, or a Black Christian, that you might find more values together than, let's say, a Black Christian and a Black atheist, I guess. So there's certain situations where that doesn't necessarily apply, but nonetheless.
About superior. Even I did not mention anything about.
No, I didn't say that. I'm just talking about culturally and historically. That's what I'm saying.
Like,
I'm not saying nobody said that.
Oh, so like societally now the air is different because
systemic racism is real.
His ancestors might have had like totally bad intentions.
They did.
I don't even think it's too far removed from him. That's probably like, yeah, right.
My ancestors had bad intentions.
Bad intentions for us, good intentions for them. Which nonetheless, we all playing the same game. I mean, we want what's best for us.
In the sense,
I mean, you're right now.
We just haven't particularly done the best job at executing when it comes to, the Black community.
Like, I'm sorry.
Well, but you don't. But you're making assumptions. I mean, what background am I? Do you know?
Right.
You said Italian beforehand.
Yeah. So
I mean, the Italians supported Hitler, didn't they?
Well,
And
not the Italians that came to America, but also I support Hitler, so it's really beside the point.
Conversation for another day.
Look, so you don't really understand, okay?
We are really good time now. Let's go. Sorry.
I understand that someone can say something like, I support Hitler, and it's like, okay, well, maybe you can support one isolated thing that he did rather than like the tragedy that he was known for. And it's like a tongue-in-cheek thing to say. I mean, as someone who is dating a Jewish man, like I cannot just like sit here and get into an argument over that with you. Like we would be here all day.
That's true. Well, and I don't support just part of it. I support most of it. I'll just put that out there. But
why?
That's besides the point.
That's actually, I'm gonna do a video on that maybe in like 10 minutes after I go off of this panel, because that's actually a very interesting topic I want to cover.
Why?
Murdering?
Why?
People?
Because, well, first of all, I don't think that actually happened. That's first. But second of all, I think the whole history of World War II is basically a lie, in my opinion.
It was
an aside for
it's also factual.
Can you explain that?
One at a time here.
Okay, we'd be happy to facilitate this debate. We'll allow it to happen. But just let Nick give his position, and then you guys can articulate your response back. But before we do that, did you want to answer the systemic thing?
Yeah, the Hitler thing to me is a diversion, but the systemic racism thing, that's really the critical thing.
Right.
See, I look at it kind of differently. You say that white people came and took the land, and we built it off of blacks and everything. The thing is, though, where were blacks working or where were they slaves in America? They were slaves in the South, and they were doing agricultural work. And so as a consequence, they didn't really...
Are we calling it work? Or were they forced? Were they happy to be there?
Forced labor is still labor, right?
That's forced labor.
So, I mean, but the point is, it's agricultural labor. And, America's not built on, cotton necessarily. It's built on buildings and railroads and things like that.
That the majority of African American people actually help facilitate and make.
But the point is that blacks picking cotton doesn't mean that they built America. Moreover, all of the wealth that they created in the South was destroyed by the Civil War. Civil War destroyed the entire South. And by the end of it, there was almost nothing left. They're occupied.
That actually is an interesting point.
By the North for a generation. So, the notion that like blacks built America, whites built America.
So you're saying that, black people just had to sit
I can't agree with you there, Nick. But let us carry on.
down and do the dirty.
That's not today's topic. Let us carry on.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they were brought here. They were told to do the work. And they did agricultural work, but to say, blacks built America, they were always a fraction of the population. They were never.
Well, what I said is that America was built on the backs of slaves, is what I said. And then also the other part of that is,
We're going back to
we said about the land
racism real quick, because you had said that you want black babies, and everything else like that. And then he said he wants white babies, and then you said, well, back in the day, there's a part of systemic racism that's what makes it racist. But my argument would be, if you look at someone like a Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, etc., they all push for, black families to stay together, support black businesses. How's that different from what he was saying? Because they were all...
That's also another good point, because without integration, or let's say race mixing, we wouldn't have some of the great quote unquote black leaders that we look back on and look up to today.
Also around during the civil rights era.
No, I didn't say him wanting to date within his race is racist. I didn't equate that to systemic racism. I was talking about his verbiage. The fact that he called it mixing, and the fact that it's blacks, and the fact that it's like, the
term race mixing, I don't know why she's so offended by that term. I mean, it's just synonymous to interracial dating. I mean, that's essentially what it is mixing races. I mean, what's the issue? This is just semantics we're arguing over here.
I like y'all, but I'm cool. Right. That's where the systemic racism comes from.
What do you mean that's where the systemic racism comes from? I don't understand the point that she's trying to make. I like y'all, but I'm cool. Like, he can be attracted to black women or women of other races, but he's not necessarily going to build a foundation with them because he wants to stay strong in his own cultural values. I mean, that's not something I necessarily disagree with. I'm not out here trying to build a foundation with whites or Asians or this, that, and the third. Not saying anything is wrong with them. That's just not my preference. I'd like to stay within my community.
It's also,
and I'm okay with that. Like I want to have a black family. I don't mind that.
What are you saying?
Like I'm okay with that. I would never date seriously outside of my race. I wouldn't.
But would it be?
So you agree with him? Like, what is she argue? What is her argument here? You agree with him? Y'all are on the same side of the argument, making the same points.
To say that systemic racism can be played on both parts, because on the black community they also were saying, hey, back then, same thing with the racist whites. There were also blacks that were racist back towards them, like, hey, we're gonna keep black culture.
But black people being racist was that was a response.
Yeah,
that was the response that was met with racism.
But none. Okay,
that was them standing up for
regardless of whether it was a response or not. But that was still what happened. I mean, they still had the same beliefs when it came to that specific situation.
Themselves. That was them regaining their lives and their cultures. And
don't get me wrong, yeah. I'm not sitting here advocating for white people or saying this, that, and the third, that he's right, he's wrong. I'm just saying that we both essentially, for the majority part, would want to stay within our own race. I mean, that's just how things are. It's not right or wrong. It's just how things are.
Their identities. That's what they have.
But isn't racism, regardless of whether it's in retaliation or not?
Right. Exactly what I just said.
Right.
I feel like this is an argument of like, what is the definition of racism? It's general disdain or hatred towards one racial group for no reason.
Right.
Or like wanting to date someone.
Sorry, stop there. So if it's whatever you just said for no reason, right? We as black people had a reason to be racist. We had a reason to be angry.
But whether there was a reason or not, I mean, racism is still just racism.
People literally came and took us from our families and beat us and made us stay here and work.
I'm not saying that her points aren't valid. It's just, I mean, no, I am saying they're not valid. I mean, it's just racism against racism when it comes to the term. I mean, when it comes to the topic of interracial dating, we didn't want to pursue that, and they didn't want to pursue this. It's the same thing.
Not the same.
I absolutely believe that Black people do have a reason to be angry. However, for moving the Black community forward, I feel as if there has to be some level of evolution where the current white people do not necessarily have to pay for the sins of their potential ancestors.
Okay, so there has to be accountability before you can get to and white people don't want to have accountability. Some they want to go, oh, those were, but we're talking about generalizations. We're talking about generalizations.
I don't know.
What does accountability look like, though?
Exactly.
That's what I want to know. What does accountability look like?
It looks like reparations. It looks like privilege.
When they say reparations, when Black people typically say reparations, they just speak on getting 40 acres and a mule. They think every Black person should just get $350,000 for what's happened in the past, and that sounds good at the naked eye. But money given to people that don't have financial education is just going to cipher the money right back into the pockets of the people that gave it to them. It's just going to make the rich richer. I mean, if you don't know what you're going to do with the money, like you see what happened with the stimulus checks, man. Everybody got their little $1,200 and bought Gucci, bought Louis Vuitton, tried to live an exotic lifestyle, went on went on cruises and whatnot. And where did that money all go? So when you have no foundation for financial literacy, then the money isn't going to do anything. The money is not what we need. The education is what we need to pursue to really create change in the community.
No, it looks like
we can give everybody $350,000, man. That's cool, but like, where is that money all going to end up eventually if there's no financial literacy behind it?
It looks like owning what your ancestors did.
And especially when you look at the community today, we have not millions, but we have a significant amount of Black millionaires, Black multimillionaires, Black billionaires. And what are we doing with that money? Essentially, who are the people that are receiving? What are we building with that money? We don't have any communities where there's Black banking, there's a Black health system, and there's a Black education system. Those three things do not exist in any Black community in the United States, and we wonder why the education is more important than the funds. If you don't know what you're doing with the money, then it's going right back to the people that you requested the money from.
It looks like not trying to whitewash history. Okay. It looks like
erase it, period.
I mean, or erase it, right?
Teaching.
It looks like things like that
as it was.
So how would you do reparations? Would you tax all the white people and give it to all the Black people?
No, I'm against that shit.
No, if we're talking,
see, like, how are you going to make an argument for something that you think should be done, but don't want to get into the details of how it should be done. I mean, you have no. This is the point. This is where I call BS. Like this, you have no idea on how to go about the thing that you're pushing for. So how the fuck can the thing be come to reality? Like, come on now. You don't avoid the question after this is the cake that you decided to cut into.
Talking about reparations, one of the first things I would do would find a way to fund education publicly that does not disadvantage low socioeconomic status households.
See, she's based.
Because unfortunately right now a lot of Black and Hispanic people are living in low socioeconomic status, and when we have education that is funded by the neighborhood, you're putting people at a disadvantage.
We tried it already with the Black Panthers, and what happened with them? They became public enemy number one. FBI's number one because they were Black Panthers.
By the neighborhood, you're putting people at a disadvantage.
We tried it already with the Black Panthers, and what happened with them? They became public enemy number one. FBI's number one because they were pushing the Black family. They were pushing cultural within our culture, our community, education, food programs, medical. Like when Black people become too powerful, we become a threat.
We become a threat.
I can agree with that point, but still, at the end of the day, it's not like all the efforts went unacknowledged. I mean, when you look at the GDP for Black people during segregation and the nuclear Black family, it was something stronger than what it is today.
Understand the sentiment, I really do, but I don't necessarily believe in like monetary. Every Black person just gets $10,000 now. Like that wouldn't help. But if we found a way to really infiltrate our youth with the power of education, I feel like that would be a very great.
She gets it. Shout out to Shorty. She understands.
Great first step. A very great first step, but that's not what's happening right now. And I feel like every political season, we all talk about who can use what bathroom. We talk about can a woman have the right to whatever, but we never talk about like public education.
Well, public education is quite on the forefront right now.
Is it? Okay.
Absolutely.
Maybe, okay.
What's the Supreme Court just did and what's happening in Ron DeSantis' state of Florida?
K through 12, though. I want to get into the K through 12 because that is what is setting the foundation.
But you live in Florida, baby. You don't know what Ron DeSantis is doing down here?
That's at the college level and the graduate level.
No, I mean like the younger generation.
What is it called? Race theory? Critical?
Yeah.
Let me jump in here. Let me throw a little wrench into the conversation. Yeah, everybody's always talking about like education and stuff, and they say, well, the reason that the Blacks and Hispanics aren't performing so well is because the schools aren't funded, the schools aren't good.
There's not one reason, I don't think.
I think there is. And the reason is
there isn't one reason, but that is one of the reasons, actually, the education system.
That when
I'm
you
not saying that it's actually, I am saying that it's disproportionate. The education system in certain communities is not funded like within other communities.
IQ tests, Blacks score one full standard deviation lower than whites.
Okay, so you can sit here and get into IQ. Let me let him finish before I say this, actually.
But we're not even getting the same education.
What is your,
we're not even getting the same.
Right. See, when you speak on IQ and knowledge and accuration of knowledge are two completely different things. IQ is capacity. IQ is something that you're born with. There's nothing you can do about changing that. But the accuration of knowledge is something that we can change because we're not learning the essential things to help the community. We're not building upon knowledge that is going to push a greater financial literacy. So that's why I can understand where she's coming from when she speaks on the education system. But he's speaking on intellect, and intellect is nothing that you can do, nothing that you can change. It's almost hereditary, if not completely hereditary. Intellect is capacity. So yes, intellect does actually play a role, but intellect has diminishing what's the word I'm looking for? Intellect has diminishing results when it comes to financial stability.
Doesn't have anything to do with education.
Not saying it's not a variable that's essential, but nonetheless, you understand what I mean.
It's innate.
Do you think that it is like, are you talking about like a nature versus nurture argument here?
Yeah, I'm saying it's genetic.
So you believe that Black people are inherently dumber?
I'm saying on average,
so the fact that we are oppressed and being
lower IQ.
So you think it has nothing to do with the way that we
being red
and intellect is like you can have a high IQ, but intellect is only gonna do so much for you if you don't apply it to the knowledge that you acquire. I mean, if you don't apply, I feel like applying the knowledge that you do have or acquiring more knowledge and applying that would be more impactful than relying on intellect alone.
and being put in stressful situations. You know,
here's why.
But you don't think that us being put in
it happens to be true,
what they call ghetto. And do you
know what Nick is saying? He is absolutely correct. On average, I think it goes Asians, whites, and blacks are somewhere at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to an average IQ, an average level of intellect. But
do you understand what it is to live a black life? No, you don't, right? Okay, right. So exactly.
Italian.
So no. But listen, I
said Italian as if that's not a variation of white.
Say that has nothing to do with you liking me or disliking me, love. But when I'm put into when I'm redlined, when I can't go into certain communities, when my community doesn't have what your community has, and I have to go to your community to get what I need. I don't even have what I need in my community. What do you think that is? Like, what are the response? These are our responses to the conditions. Do you understand?
Yes,
I'm glad you brought that up.
Ladies,
I can agree with that point.
Let him respond to her situation, and then we can go ahead and let you guys chip in. And then we'll probably have to go Rumble sooner than I thought.
Yeah.
But this is amazing. Sorry, go ahead, Nick.
So here's the thing. What you're talking about when you say that, blacks don't have access to resources.
Hold on, super chat. Don't forget Nick W World War II history reaction. Want to see it? All right, I actually said that early in the video. I'm gonna cover that probably right after this live stream. Let us carry on. Thank you for the chat.
That's of course because these neighborhoods are impoverished. They already don't have wealth. They already have these problems. I would throw something else into the mix and say, let's look at something like a food desert. That's a big complaint, is that they're not able to access fresh food in these neighborhoods. Well, Walmart just left Chicago. I'm from the suburbs of Chicago. Walmart just pulled out. Why did Walmart pull out? Is it because of redlining and white racism? Or did Walmart pull out because people get...
Another chat from my guy, man. 190 viewers in the chat. Whoa, guys, don't forget to thumbs up. Like, come on, man. Blow that chat up, man. Don't just be saying here. Come on, man. Pay y'all tuition, man. Blow that chat up. Likes are free. Thank you, my man. Let us carry on.
Stealing. They pulled out because people kept stealing.
That argument is a non sequitur, though.
Why is it non sequitur?
It's a non sequitur because talking about food deserts and trying to equate that to why you inherently believe that Black and Hispanic people are genetically and inherently less intelligent. It's a non sequitur to talk about why Walmart is no longer in Chicago.
Here's the correlation.
I want to touch on that too. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, here's the point: is that whenever there's a conversation about because fundamentally the conversation's about the disparity between blacks and whites, which is persistent in wealth, unemployment, income, all these things. And really there's two explanations. And one is circumstance, historical disadvantage, these kinds of things, which you might call nurture, so-called. I mean, for lack of a better word. The other argument is that blacks and whites are different, and they're genetically different. And these behaviors that they exhibit are the result of genetics. And so if Black people have an average IQ of 85 in America compared to whites of 100, it doesn't mean that there are no Black people with an IQ over 100, obviously. But it does mean that on average, there are fewer of them. And if that's
He's correct.
the case, this has real world implications. There's going to be a reason why the Black schools perform worse than the white schools. And it's got nothing to do with the school, the funding, the public policy, and it's got everything to do with their innate faculties in the beginning.
I mean, I could agree with that statement to a certain extent because intellect is innate, but the accuracy of knowledge is not. Like, this doesn't mean that someone with an IQ of 100 and someone with an IQ of 146 can't acquire the same amount of knowledge. It's just they're going to conceptualize the knowledge in to different degrees. So it's not. I can't agree with that point all the way.
Wait.
Because
I need to hear.
I want to go in
as a Black woman who is in education, this is something that is very important to me. And I mean, we can talk all day long about the nature versus nurture debate. I do believe a lot of the struggles that the Black community is facing right now has to deal with nature. Nurture over nature. If we had the same resources like the K through 12 education and the strong family unit, I don't see why there is any genetic, like we have coded the human genome. I feel like if there was any genetic implication as to why Blacks and Hispanics are performing less, maybe the scientists who coded the human genome would have come out with that information already, but I don't think that they have.
Well, the brain accounts for 50% of the human genome.
I was muted. My bad. Actually, I don't necessarily agree with that point because intellect actually does play a role. So I take some of what I said back. I mean, if you have an IQ of 80, you're gonna have you're gonna have diminishing results to what you can provide for society, which means diminishing results in finance. I forgot what I said. I was muted. Let's carry on.
And when you look at Black people and white people, they have all kinds of different characteristics, different skin color, different
like I was saying, and diminishing results to what you can supply society with means diminishing results in finance. I mean, the people that get paid the most in society are the people that provide the most to society to an extent.
Period.
Not incorporating streamers and all the new age ways and methods of getting money with technology and social media.
All kinds of different
Gestation
things.
Period. By how many days?
Although those people also do provide something to society.
I don't know the exact number of days, but if you look at it, it tracks. Asians have, I think it's the highest, and then it's whites, Hispanics, and then Blacks.
But everything, how is that following the argument that we're?
I did not know Hispanics were above Blacks when it came to average IQ.
Argument. Okay. So if we can,
maybe I should do my research on that.
Agree that there are already differences that we can see. If there's physical differences, then it would follow if the brain is 50% of the human genome, it would be ridiculous to suggest that whites and Blacks and Hispanics and Asians all have the same brains.
Intelligence isn't necessarily phenotypic, though.
100% is. What is intelligence? There's a stronger correlation that intelligence is genetic than so many other things. It's a heritable.
Intelligence, intellect level is something that is. You could make an argument that it is genetic because intellect is capacity. It's not how much you can know. It's how you can conceptualize what you do know. It's something that you're born with. I don't think you can necessarily. I don't think you can necessarily improve your intellect level. That's something that's just innate to who you are.
Trait. That's not even disputed.
So let's stop there because if we're talking about how education is more. No. Because if we're talking about how education is more genetic, meaning passed down some kind of way, that's in with African Americans being lower than whites, it's only because we were not given education for so long.
That has nothing to do with intellect. Intellect is capacity. She's speaking on knowledge, and this is something that a low IQ person often does is confuses intellect and knowledge to be the same thing, which it is not. The accuracy of knowledge, like I keep saying, is completely different from intellect. Intellect is your capacity, your ability to conceptualize the knowledge. We can both look at the same equation, and I might look, and someone with a higher IQ may be able to break it down in a multitude of ways that someone with lower IQ could not be able to do so. Nonetheless, they would still be able to figure it out. Nonetheless, but not to the what's the word I'm looking for? Not to the extent someone with a higher IQ could.
That's not true, though.
Right. That is very true.
It's not because when y'all got us from Africa, you got us. You got
yes, we were deprived of knowledge. We were not deprived of intellect. We were deprived of knowledge. You can't not deprive anybody of intellect.
You got the scientists, you got the alchemists, you got all the greats, what y'all thought was great, what y'all thought were what, right. And when I say y'all, I mean your ancestors. You feel me? So what y'all thought was great, y'all scooped us up, y'all got the greats, right? And then y'all shipped up exactly, right? And so it's genetic. Everything you got is from us. White come from black. Right. If you if you don't know, I'm just saying, y'all just like something that God created because he has a sense of humor. So,
wow. But see, that's the most hateful statement that's been said so far.
And it's okay. It's okay if you feel that way. But when you know yourself and you know your history, we can have this conversation all day. And like I said, I agree with you. I think interracial was the worst thing that we could have ever done.
That's insane.
It messed us up.
I say that all the time.
It messed us up.
The world went to shit.
I don't agree.
Knowledge and intelligence are two completely different things, correct?
When segregation ended.
It's okay.
I don't care what nobody got to say.
So you think it's the worst thing? You agree with her?
I agree with her.
Okay, and then you disagree.
We are all children of God. That is insane. That's an insane thing to say, that we should all be separated.
Yes.
Like, what was
Or
segregation?
maybe you can make an argument when it comes to the specific way of determining one's intellect, and maybe that's where the disparity in the race groups. But that's a conversation for another day.
Wow.
What was like what come on?
Something that was brought to us. You get what
Right. But look how strong our community was when
our
she was
innate nature
segregated.
isn't our innate
Like, now
nature.
we do not
Our innate
have
nature is
now-
war. Our innate nature.
Whoa.
Our innate nature. I'm sorry.
Let her finish her point. You made your statement that you think interracial was the worst thing. She agreed. Let her make her point to why she.
Well, we know why she did that.
I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, but I want her to be able to say. Yeah, she has her guy. But why? So you said we're all children of God, and finish your thing, and then I'll.
Well, I didn't finish mine, so I want to go next.
I mean, even in the Bible, it calls us to look at one another as brother and sisters. I don't think that the Lord would have wanted for there to be such division amongst races, or to be like ridiculing, or to think higher of one race or lower of one race in metrics of intelligence, or I know you didn't say this, but worth, or like deserving of kindness and love, and so on and so forth. I just can't agree with.
I don't think that because people wanted, I mean, mind you, white people were just like mean and racist, right? That is a given fact.
No,
however, just because I believe that people should stay within their own cultures, that's not necessarily a negative thing. Look how strong the African American community was when we were separates. Look how far the Black dollar was when we were separates. Now what we're doing is we're fighting against people like you and like Nick here, my buddy, because we want to sit at the table. But
No,
we didn't have to do that.
I would never be in competition with a Black person.
However,
I have to tell you that whenever a Black student comes to me and they want me specifically to mentor them in a education sense, like I will take them under my wing. And I do that for Black and Hispanic people more than I do that for white people, because
Damn, I've been on mute and y'all ain't tell me.
And you showing the favor. Why? Why?
Because I want to see our community strengthened, but I would never impose my viewpoints on dating saying, oh, hey, I'm going to help you with this MCAT equation. But also, when you're like successful, make sure you only date within your race.
I would never do that. I wouldn't do that.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Because other girls here have been kind of silent.
Yeah.
Okay, how many of you agree with race mixing? I know she does. One, well, yeah, obviously do. I was going to ask you guys. Do you guys have white parents?
Yeah, I was like, my mom is white, so there's no way.
I don't necessarily agree or disagree with. No, that's not a good standpoint. I mean, me personally, I would probably stay within my own race. That's just my preference. I have no problem with people that decide to integrate. I think everybody should have the ability to do so. But me personally, I think it's more beneficial if one stays within their own race. It's easier to build upon cultural values and ideologies and religion when it comes to you staying amongst your own, because then that's when there's, you can't raise a child with opposing views to the world. It creates confusion within the child. You know what I'm saying? So it's easier to create a nuclear family within the same culture, within the same race. And that's not to say that, a white Christian and a Black Christian couldn't build a good foundation. That's a different argument. I mean, they probably could.
I couldn't.
Mom is white, dad is Black.
We wouldn't be here without.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. But I was like, no, maybe
That's fine. So you guys agree with race mixing? You do too? Are you mixed as well?
Yes, I am Haitian, but I'm also Dominican and Venezuelan.
Okay, you can make that. argument that the Dominicans are African Americans.
Right, because at the end of the day, there's only 3 races: the Negroid, the Mongoloid, and the Caucasoid. And everything else that from Italian and Haitian and Dominican, it all stems under those 3 races. There's only really 3 races.
So the Afro-American.
And obviously the Negro would be, blacks, Caucasoids, whites, and the Mongoloid, Asians.
Or black, excuse me. What about you? What do you think?
I'm American. But
You talking about I'm American. You dumb bimbo.
Do you believe in race mixing, like a white dude getting a black chick or vice versa? You do?
I said I'm American. This dumb bimbo. Like, Jesus Christ.
You agree with it? Okay, so you two think, hey, keep it in the...
I mean, it's just not,
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. I just want to kind of get an idea. So all the girls
I'm not saying that it's a negative thing, though. I'm definitely not saying that it's a negative thing. I just have my preference, and I believe in letting people have their preference and exercise in that.
I agree with that. 100%. I agree with that.
Okay, so it looks to me like all of you are for race mixing then. You just only 2 of you don't practice it.
Right. Do what you want to do. That's your business.
Do you date white guys? Or guys outside of the black race?
No, you don't.
I mean,
yeah,
I can't say yes because but it's a type thing. I feel.
What about you? Do you date outside of your race?
No. I dated white guys, though. I will say that.
Yeah, I have too, but it's just a type thing.
Of course, definitely for money.
The culture of the African, not even the African American female, the American black female. Talking about just for money.
Do you date outside of your race? I mean, black people?
I have in the past, but I don't anymore.
Your preference is black? Okay.
Yeah.
So what about you? Do you date outside of your race? You do. Okay. So realistically speaking, all of you are for race mixing, but only 2 of you date outside of your race, it seems to me. Okay. All right. Just you got the numbers here.
No. Oh, that's the end of the video. All right.
I gotta live like.
There go the Saint. All right. Well, long story short, to put a conclusion to this video, I think it would be more beneficial for someone to stay within their own culture, within their own race, to build a family, to build a foundation, because then there's no opposing views coming to interrupt the foundation that you're trying to create. Although that doesn't mean that people that are of different races, black, white, or Asian, can come together to build a sustainable family. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it would be easier to find it within your own community. But that's all for today, man. Shout out to the collective, man. Probably gonna live streaming in about 10 minutes, man. Go ahead, hit that sub button. Make sure I leave a like in the video, man. It's your boy Katumwa.